It's time for more cut content, and today is going to be a fantastic day since we're jumping straight in to Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, both games with a crazy amount of cut content from them. So let's not waste any time and hop right in. Now, Ocarina of Time has so much cut content, I don't even know where to start. I just know I will not be talking about everything. If you wish to find out more, check out the Cutting Room Floor, Unseen 64, or just Google it. It's pretty easy to find. But on to the content! First, let's dive into some cutscenes that were never used in the game. The first major cutscene that was cut was 3 scenes to hint towards where you could find the first 3 temples. Walking up to the spiritual stones would activate a scene that would show you either the Sacred Forest, Death Mountain, or Lake Hylia. This seems like a good idea to help out first-time players, so I'm unsure why they would have even taken this out. One of the oldest cutscenes in Ocarina of Time is one describing the origins of the Triforce. It's assumed to be the oldest since it started from a character instead of entering an area like most cutscenes are. Eventually the scene was cut from the game though. There were also plenty of objects in the game left out, the first being a device that would reflect arrows back at Link. From the video seen when hacked back into the game, it looks like a Deku scrub plant, but when shot it'll send your arrows flying back at you and causing some damage. Another trap was a giant purple ruby that exploded when you touched it. And many assumed this was going to be a trap, but from my research, this rupee's included with the slingshot minigame rupees, so maybe at one point there was going to be an exploding purple ruby during this minigame. One of the more interesting objects not found in the game are R-Wings from the video game Star Fox 64. These models were used to figure out how Volgia's flight path would work, and when loaded into the game, an animation plays showing them fly around and do a barrel roll before it starts firing lasers at Link. And once it's defeated, it crashes to the ground in a horrible fiery explosion!
Thought you could hide from me, eh? Enemy ahead! Ah!
All of the songs taught by Sheik were supposed to actually be get items, meaning at some point Link would have held them above his head, meaning that either these songs were given in chests, or once Sheik taught you them, a colored note would appear over your head instead of Link just staring oddly into his ocarina. There was also supposed to be a reed whistle to call Epona to you, but was replaced with a song played on the ocarina, though this idea was later used in Twilight Princess instead. A few other objects never found in the game are 4 Nintendo coins, a butterfly in a cage, a Stelphos that can only be seen using the Lens of Truth, an early version of the Great Fairies which could also just be statues of them, pedestals that were used to indicate when the ocarina should be used for a puzzle, a door that would slam shut when you got close enough to it, a bird that was cut but ended up being used in the moon for Majora's Mask later on, way more unused characters and creepy faces than you can shake a stick at, and a giant white block that plays a really creepy sound effect. Some animations for Link and the Gerudo guards are also left out. One included is Link literally dumpster diving into a chest. A few other interesting ones show off Link guarding while using the bow and also the longsword, his ability to super jump up walls as adult Link, a front flip that would have been used for some sort of attack, and whatever this is. The Gerudo guards also have animations for attacking and moving while crouched on the ground. And there's even more, who could have imagined? There was also supposed to be a jelly enemy that was cut from the game. The fence near Jabu Jabu was originally supposed to not be there and used as a shortcut to Zora's River by jumping off the waterfall. A few sound effects are also never used, which include an early version of the lock-on sound, a menu sound, a sound most likely used to advance the dialogue box, a thunder effect, a sound for birds, 2 sound effects that I'm not sure what they may have been used for, 2 warping sound effects, and a very deep voice. In beta footage, it could be seen that Link was originally supposed to shoot a beam from his sword when his health was full, just like in past versions of the game, but this feature was eventually cut and left out from the game. Also, the medallions in the game were supposed to be equipable items that teleported you to the temple instead of the Ocarina. And in an interview with Shigeru Miyamoto, they were also supposed to be used with the bow, causing different elemental effects. On top of that, there was supposed to be 2 more magic spells, one that would only damage dark enemies like Floor Masters and Re-Deads, and another that is unknown what it would have done. And the last thing for Ocarina of Time, the Forest Temple was supposed to be a Wind Temple, and the Water Temple was supposed to be an Ice Temple. Clues to this can still be seen in early versions of the game, with the medallions looking different. Also, the areas in Ganon's tower corresponding to the forest and water are filled with wind and ice puzzles. It's also assumed that most of the Ice Temple was reused for the Ice Cavern or repurposed for the Water Temple. Wow, that was a lot of cut content, and there's even more that I just decided not to put in because it seemed kind of boring and this video would have been like 30 minutes long if I put it all in. But there's still more, don't worry, because we have to hop into my favorite game, Majora's Mask, next. Majora's Mask doesn't have much cut content from it, just a lot of items left over from Ocarina of Time that were never used, but there still is some great content to find, like the bank closing. Yes, in its original form, the bank was supposed to open at 10 AM and close at 8 PM. Hacking the game and entering the shop area during the end credit scene and waiting till 8 PM will show a wooden gate coming down in front of the shop, showing that it's closed. The entrance to the clock tower was originally supposed to be different from the final release, including a fence around it and a path walking off to the right, meaning originally it was probably much easier to enter the tower before it was changed so the Deku scrub couldn't enter it on the first night. And since I just mentioned a fence, I guess I should also throw in there was supposed to be a large metal fence somewhere in the game, but this was scrapped. Some more interesting items left out were a giant bumper like in A Link to the Past that when touched would push Link back. There were also 3 pedestals used to teach Link songs, a flute that Zelda would have played instead of an ocarina, and animations for her playing said flute, and lastly a super creepy mask of Child Link that the Skull Kid would have worn. I don't know why Skull Kid would be wearing a mask of your face, but I'd rather not know. Interestingly enough, it seems like owl statues weren't needed to save originally, since hacking the game can allow you to save, just like you would in Ocarina of Time. When done so, the game records the amount of rupees and items you have, and when started back up, puts you at the dawn of the first day at the Clock Town entrance. The fishing pond and fishing rod from Ocarina of Time were also supposed to appear in Majora's Mask, and can still be loaded into the game using hacks. Using the hack will cause fish, reeds, and a fisherman to spawn if you're in South Clock Town. And you can also use the rod, but it will most likely crash the game. So if you want to go fishing in Majora's Mask, you're better off picking up the 3DS version where they actually did add in 2 fishing ponds to use. And on that note, the 3DS version includes models for Ganondorf, Impa, and Sheik that were never used, but their file names make reference to the fishermen, meaning that they may have been used somewhere in the fishing holes in the game. The last thing I want to talk about is a few cutscenes never seen in the final version of the game. These are videos of the Great Fairy training Link to gain new abilities. These scenes would have taken place before Link got a new ability from the fairy instead of Link just magically learning them. But I guess since you know a fairy is magical, it made sense that Link just magically learned the abilities, so they scrapped the scenes. And that is everything from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. There is plenty of more Zelda stuff to talk about, but I will save that for a later video because there is plenty to talk about. But till then, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. It means the world to me, and the support you've given me allows me to continue to make these amazing YouTube videos that I love to make so much. So a huge thank you goes out to Rob Liberty, Andre Drulard, Harry Martin, Dominic Sharma, Ian Selch, Chelsea Bastion, Thomas Bethel, and the YouTubers Possum Gamer, Cray Trey, and the Game Plank. Sorry if I pronounced any of your names wrong, and I will see you all in the next video.